What's up, guys? Back there. Doing a little shooting tonight. Getting back at you. I just finished up school, or will be finishing up school by the time you see this, so I am good. Just have to worry about work now. And I'm not, my fiance doesn't believe in this, but I'm not going to say the G word about school until I finish my finals, which I have to do in the next couple days. So I will not say that word till then, but hopefully we'll be wrapping up school here within the next week, and I'm going to be trying to get back to getting a little bit more consistent with the posting, and really start bringing you guys some more content here in the summer. We're going to start doing some scouting trips in Ohio and knocking for permission in Michigan and Ohio. But in today's video, we're going to go over, well, won't be here, I'll be shooting. But while I'm shooting, we're going to go over the 5 mistakes that you should avoid to help your hunting season this upcoming fall in 2025. I'm no expert, but I have made plenty of mistakes. These are the top 5 mistakes that you might be messing up, that I have messed up, and just might be something to look at or self-evaluate for going in the fall. I know it's only, when you're seeing this, it'll only be May, but hunting season is going to be here before we know it. So let's start thinking about those things. I'm going to give you 5 tips here to improve your hunting here in 2025. All right, you guys, welcome back. We're back at the old white wall here. I know I did a reaction to the video the other week in front of here, but today we're doing the 5 mistakes that I have made. This list comes from mostly me, some other people that I trust, my dad, some buddies, but mostly things that I've done in the past, mistakes I've made. I'm no expert, but these are definitely mistakes I've made that hopefully you don't have to make. Number 1 is don't just hunt because you have the time to hunt. Now, I know with the way our life works and the way that society is today, a lot of people don't have a lot of time to hunt. And, I'm never going to say, hey, don't get out there, don't get out there. But if your flexibility of your schedule allows, definitely take advantage of the best days to be out there. Take advantage of the cold fronts, take advantage of the good weather. Maybe it's taking a couple days off that first week in November, but don't just hunt because you have the time. If you're watching this in May or June, that means you're probably thinking about hunting season, probably means you're pretty serious. So, hopefully you can or have the ability to get your schedule moved around a little bit, or just a little bit of freedom to maybe get out of work an hour early or come in an hour later, depending on the time of year, depending on cold fronts and stuff like that. So that would be my number 1 thing. Always hunt when you can, but if you have the opportunity, don't just hunt to hunt. I've done this on deer in Pennsylvania when I used to work a lot and could only hunt Mondays and Tuesdays. Afternoons were the only times I really got to hunt. Just definitely went in after deer and definitely blew stuff up because that was the only time I had to hunt, and I wasn't paying attention as much to the wind and just paying attention to the weather itself, and definitely blowing things way too early. Number 2, don't rely on last year's intel. What I mean by that is, depending where you are in the country, in the big woods back home in the mountains, it could be acorn crop, it could be crop rotations in the Midwest. In the West, it could be maybe an alfalfa pivot turning into cattle pasture. So don't go off of, hey, the deer was here last year. If you don't know why the deer was there, make sure you're double checking. Make sure you're relocating bucks that you think shed, bucks that you think have made it through. Make sure you're trying to find those. It's something that I do in the summer, and it might tell you a lot about the deer and might help you make sense. And again, a lot of times, don't just check where you think they're going to be in the fall. Go drive around, especially here. And I live in Michigan now, or depending where you are, all over the Midwest, or even in parts of Pennsylvania and the East Coast. Go drive around bean fields at night. Go find those deer. Drive 3 to 5 miles from where he lives in the fall. Try to go find him in the summer. Maybe that will give you the missing piece of, oh, okay, this makes sense why he's using this piece, because this is where he's going back and forth, or this is where he's going to be transitioning from when he goes into his fall range. The other thing with this is, I would also say, don't go on last year's intel for access, especially if you're on permission. Go check in with those landowners, especially, a lot of us are in turkey season. If you guys are turkey hunters, check in with the landowner, checking in to making sure, you still have that permission to hunt. and that they didn't sell it, that they didn't start leasing it out. So just always be making sure that that goes for deer, but it also goes on for actual hunting. If it's public, go see if there's anything that's changed on public, whether it's a new access or anything like that. Just, usually those things don't change, but you never know year to year, depending on what state you're in. Number 3, I think this is the hardest, but I think this is really the biggest thing that you could do. So many people make mistakes at the moment of truth. And I've definitely botched shots, especially in archery season. Missed deer at 10 yards. I've missed a doe at 10 yards and then killed her at 30. So anytime, especially with archery equipment, you never know how it's going to go. The more reps you can get. Now, that was a long time ago. That was when I was a lot younger and more inexperienced. But you never know. Nothing can take those in-game reps. So whether that's the ability to turkey hunt, whether that's the ability to, depending where you live, hog hunt, whether that's the ability to, if you have the financial means, go find a spring hunt to do access deer in Texas or hogs in the South, if you have the opportunity. I don't this year, but if you have that opportunity, 100%. If you don't, do push-ups before you shoot. Shoot with buddies. Film yourself. Anything that makes shooting more nerve-wracking, the better. Again, nothing's going to beat that moment of truth live reps. If you can get hog hunting, if you can get turkey hunting with a bow, if you're able to hunt, out of the states, or if you're able to hunt exotics in Texas, 100% go do that. I think it's the biggest thing that people mess up on is actually the moment of truth. So if you have the ability to go shoot some does, or to go shoot something else, shoot does in early season on a permission piece or on public, or get those live reps in as much as you can. Shooting with buddies, just adding pressure, so at the moment of truth that you can follow through and make a good shot. Number 4 is a big one for me. I've done this in the past on a couple deers. Don't rely on technology too much. We love cell cameras. They're probably the greatest tool, but sometimes you just got to get out there and find them. And these deer, especially in some of these heavier hunted states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, they figure out cell cameras. They figure out trail cameras. So maybe you got one picture of the deer and you haven't got a picture of him in a month. Well, maybe he's just avoiding the camera. Maybe he's just avoiding the bait pile. Maybe he's avoiding your human scent and intrusion. So make sure that you're actually going in there to try to get some more information without blowing it out. I know that can be hard, but maybe it's sitting 2 miles off or maybe not 2 miles. Maybe it's sitting off a mile and just glassing a night. And maybe he's just coming out of that bean field at a different location than you originally thought. Maybe he's shifted a little bit. Maybe he's, go knock on a couple of other doors. Go knock on some neighbors' doors. Try to see if you can re-find that deer if he's missing. Or, don't just sit there and wait for the trail cam pictures, because sometimes I've seen it. We had a buck, the splitter buck. We thought he had vanished. And what we came to realize was he had just figured out a couple of our trail camera spots. This was in 2020. This was the first deer. I should probably do another video on this deer. This was the first deer that kind of taught me a lot about hunting mature bucks. He was a 4-year-old in Pennsylvania that we hunted, and he kicked our butt. He kicked my butt, let me say that. He kicked my butt, but he was a deer that was very shy temperament. And man, trail cameras freaked him out. He didn't like his picture getting taken. So having put trail cameras higher, but just don't always just rely on that. Back to the story, we thought he was living somewhere else the whole time. He was just avoiding our cameras. In late season, we moved the camera and put it higher on the tree and got his pictures 3 days in a row. And the whole season, he must have been in there. We just were missing what he was doing. So don't over-rely on technology. Technology is a great tool. It's amazing. Cell cameras have probably killed more deer than anything else, but sometimes, especially if you're hunting a big buck, you never know. So don't always over-rely on technology. And sometimes just get out there and hunt, man. Sometimes you just got to go on a gut feeling. You got good weather, you got a good gut feeling, it's the right time of year, sometimes you just got to go. Number 5 is entering and exiting stands and your access getting to your stands. This can go from, I see it all the time. I've done it. We've completely changed. I've changed now how I think about getting in and out of places of whether it's public, of where the deer think your people are parking and how you can change that access, whether it's knocking on some private to get access to walk in from a different angle, whether it's parking 2 parking lots down and walking up if you think a deer is bedding right next to the road. Thinking like a deer and knowing what those deer are thinking you're doing and where those deer are laying when you're entering a stand and especially exiting a stand. See this a lot in farm country where people are like, well, they didn't see me going in, but going out. Going out, I think, is more important sometimes than going in. Obviously, when you're going in, you don't want them to see you. They don't want them to smell you, obviously. But after it gets dark, I think that's when 90% of the people make their mistakes when hanging a tree stand or a stand or blind or whatever it is what is your exit looking like? How can you exit that area with deer still being in the field or stuff like that? It's something I've really changed in the last couple of years, and it's really changed from, I've seen it. When I first started hunting my cousin's farm, beginning of season, there'd be 15 deer in the field. By 2 weeks in, there'd be 5 deer in the field, and by gun season, there'd be no deer in the field at the end of the night. And it was all based off of they were seeing us getting down from the stands. When we changed some stands, used some ditches, used hay bales, and were able to access differently and exit differently, it completely changed from then seeing deer the whole way through the season using those food sources. So your exit and entry, leaving stands, is one of the biggest things people make mistakes on. Maybe not as much entering stands, and this might be more on private than public, but a huge thing I see, whether it's friends, whether it's some family members, but the biggest thing change for me has been that entering and exiting, especially the exiting of the stands, making sure those deer cannot see you, smell you, or hear you get down, and that you can get behind them. So those are 5 mistakes that I've made hunting. Like I said, I'm no expert. I'm just a simple country kid trying to get better at deer hunting and trying to help people along the way. So those are 5 things that I've learned over the last couple of years and that have really helped me, and I hope they help you. Thank you for watching this video if you're at this point. God bless each and every one of you. Have a fantastic day, and thanks for watching. See ya.